Hey everyone, Chris Moreno live here at Venture Atlanta 2024. We're having fun. Tons of investors, innovators, and founders. Here with my good friends Rob and Eric, two founders who have had exits, been successful, and are paying it forward with other founders. Rob, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit about your founder journey, if you don't mind, and maybe the company you started and the teams you built.
Yeah. So my founder journey, the company that you'll recognize is a company called SalesLoft.
Yep.
Kyle Porter and I started it here in Atlanta. We had a great run for 10 years, serving salespeople, helping make them more productive. And
I was a customer.
Thank you for your business.
Absolutely.
We love it. But my founder journey actually starts before that. I had founded another company where I largely failed. When I tell the story, I flip the slide and it shows a dumpster on fire. And I was like, oh, that's the wrong one. So it was great, but it really taught me two things that set the foundation. One was about organizational health and what does it mean to get a team aligned. And the second was that I didn't know anything about sales. And so I had to learn about sales. And that really set a foundation for SalesLoft, where we tried to create a really great place to work. And we tried to create a great product for salespeople.
Love it.
After SalesLoft, I got into coaching CEOs. I had an amazing coach and really paying it forward and helping them avoid some of the pitfalls and share some of the lessons. And so that was the seed that grew into ScaleBound with Eric. He was doing the same thing.
Yep.
And we looked at how do we create a greater reach for that program, not just one-on-one, but how can we impact the most people for the most good.
I think today, this morning, you were the kickoff session for founders and this morning. And with your experience, not only founding, raising capital, finding great partners, building teams, but then also cutting checks and supporting others now like you're doing. I'm curious to know a little bit about the paying forward aspect. Has that been a big part of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
You want to touch on that?
Yeah, so Rob and I, as Rob was mentioning, we actually had the same coach.
Amazing.
He introduced me.
Who was that?
Yeah, Bob Lewis.
Bob Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Local legend.
Okay.
But he's retiring, so he's not taking on new business.
Got it.
Good for us.
Good for us. So Rob was running SalesLoft and I was running Terminus. And
tell us a little more about Terminus, maybe too.
Yeah, sure. So we were a B2B marketing technology startup. Started here in Atlanta at the Atlanta Tech Village. David Cummings, who many people around here know of, was our founding investor and built a really healthy business. Similar to Rob, really focused on culture and tried our best to just focus on delivering value to our customers. And thankfully, we were in the right place at the right time. We were the pioneers of a category that's now kind of commonplace called account-based marketing.
Yep.
So that was a big part of our strategy. Was we brought all of these marketers together, not under the Terminus umbrella, but under we called it Flip My Funnel.
I've seen the videos.
Yeah, was the way that we described account-based marketing, which one of my co-founders drew on a napkin on a plane on the way home from a conference, and it turns out that was the most valuable napkin I've ever seen in my life. And so we had a good run here, and Rob and I had great experience being coached while we were running our businesses. And both of us post-exit found ourselves coaching. We took on a few CEOs, and this was almost 5 years ago now, which sounds crazy. Yeah. But Rob and I started reconnecting, trading notes, and realized man, we both love this. This is the most fulfilling thing we've ever done. We get to share, I'll call it the messes that we made and help people avoid making those same messes and mistakes. And
they can make different ones.
They can make different mistakes, but I'm sure
the two-way doors, not the one-way doors, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same for Rob. It's we remember being coached and having that experience, and we know the nonverbals and we know the look on someone's face, and that when you hit that pressure release valve, and they're like, oh, I have permission to do this, or this is okay, or
this is normal,
or this is normal, and I'm not the only one that's dealing with this. And now with our group coaching at ScaleBound, we get to do this with dozens and in the future hundreds of people every single week, and it's quickly become for both of us kind of the best part of our week. It's we get to show up and hang out with founders, CEOs, and just help them build and bring stuff into the world that doesn't exist, and drive the world forward.
Love it.
It's just awesome.
Love it. And so obviously you're both alumni of Venture Atlanta. I've heard a number around $7 billion in investments. I think 17 billion in exits. Incredible community, right? Of other founders you can count on. And I don't know if you can talk to even Conductor Capital now. I saw you're working on as well, where it's founders helping other founders with capital. I don't know if you want to talk to that, but I'd love to hear about maybe some of the things you're working on in relation to Venture Atlanta and why Venture Atlanta, for our audience who isn't here, why is it such a big deal?
I always tell the story of I used to think I would need to leave Atlanta. Wasn't the right kind of city. It didn't have the right stuff. It just, it wasn't what it is today. And so over the last 10 years, not just from a technology and community perspective, but just as a city, the evolution over the last 10 years has been incredible. And, now I'm like, I would never leave Atlanta. This place is awesome. And for me, of course, a big part of my life is like, I love the professional world and I love building. And Rob and I share a vision of like, we feel like our best contribution to the world is through helping people create great businesses. And so Venture Atlanta has kind of been the cornerstone. I mean, this has been going, I think, a decade or getting close to a decade. I know I pitched 8 years ago, and the conference is just getting better and better and better. And I know that we both look forward to it each year. It's like you get to see everyone, you get to see how things are growing, you get to see all the new folks coming in. And it's felt really special to be a part of that from the ground floor. And Venture Atlanta, I would say, is a very critical part of Atlanta and honestly the Southeast ecosystem. And even these days, you got, I'm sure you've been talking to people from all over the country.
Oh yeah,
Even
investors from
Yeah.
everywhere. It's incredible. What's great about the investors who come, they're willing to just connect, meet other founders, help, support. I've even found my love, which is hardware and prop tech. So I'm curious on what you just said too about building and how, you didn't be in San Francisco, you'd be in New York. I'm curious to hear your story. Did people tell you that as well? Like you needed to be somewhere else, but you found your love in Atlanta?
And a lot of people. Yeah, we got that a lot. And especially as we started raising more and more capital, that was a question. But we just decided that we weren't. It was enough was beginning to happen. The ecosystem was beginning to turn. David and ATV had just been created. We could feel it. And so there was something we could tell was going on. And we loved it. There's a Southern hospitality dynamic. We talk about one of the highlights is spending time with entrepreneurs on our weekly calls. That's why Venture Atlanta is so great, because we get to spend time with the most favorite, interesting people, and it brings all of the sides together with the entrepreneurs and the investors, and there's just so much creativity and energy. It's awesome. I love it, and I have no.
I always think like we built in San Francisco one of our businesses, and I'm like, if we had come to Atlanta, we actually probably would have grown faster. Because two of our biggest customers are here.
Yeah,
Big Orange and Big Brown.
Yep.
Both became our biggest customers, and we probably would have met them years earlier.
Right.
But so
kind of the regional hub nature of Atlanta for a lot of big
incredible
companies.
Corporates, investors, et cetera. I think just people don't think of this first. I do want to ask you too about ScaleBound. A lot going on, a lot that you shared, and some nuggets. So could you maybe leave us each with a nugget? Because I think you both had some good nuggets. If you don't mind sharing with the audience. And number two, how would we reach you or follow up and be in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe let's just do our 1 million and 10 million.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the audience is at different stages of growth. So what I spoke about was the journey up to 1 and 2 and even 3 million
in ARR.
ARR or revenue equivalent. There's some fintech businesses or healthcare, but it's really about focus, prioritization first, and then focusing on those priorities. And one of the things we often talk about is in the early days, you're building or you're selling. And if you're finding yourself creating too many processes or systems or documentation, focus on growing revenue. And if the product isn't supporting that, focus on building a product that will, and keep those iteration loops tight, because the faster you iterate, the faster you get to product market fit. And the way that you get to an iteration is you pick something that you're going to focus on, you focus on it, you do what you say you're going to do, and then you'll have some data. It'll work, it won't work, it doesn't matter. You just keep picking priorities, execute on those priorities, get to the iteration, get to the data. That's how you find product market fit, and you can really start to scale your business.
Love that.
That ties into how we teach the group program.
Okay.
From 200K to 2 million is the entry level program.
Okay.
And we rotate through 4 topics on managing yourself, because burnout is a real thing, building your product, selling your product, and leading your team. Now, you don't usually have a leadership team, but it's like leading the group.
Okay.
And so we rotate through each topic. We go each week, and we go through it. And so that ties into that kind of run up to the first couple million. From the 2 or 3 million to the 10 million, it really becomes about the leadership team. And so what I usually work with founders on is building a highly cohesive leadership team, creating organizational clarity, over communicating it, and then reinforcing it. And so we did a lot with, which is a little bit counterintuitive, with trust building. With every year, we would get our leadership team together and we would share our life stories, not just like our professional histories, but our life stories. And I told the story of putting the piece of tape on the ground and you literally walk your age and you talk about where you were born and what were the highs and the lows of your life. And it really allowed us to bond together at a deeper level. And some people, it's not clear, like, why does that matter?
Yeah.
And the reason it matters is because if we understand each other at a deeper level, then it helps me avoid fundamental attribution bias, which is a fancy way of saying if I make a mistake, there were circumstances at play, and I'm a good person. But if you make a mistake, it's a character flaw.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to have to, so I can get very critical.
You sound like therapists. So, yeah.
There's a dimension of it.
Yeah.
We actually recently got a testimonial that said ScaleBound is my weekly source of startup sanity.
Love it.
And
Exactly.
we love that. Sorry, you were saying?
No. So I think we all know intuitively, if you have somebody close to you that you know well, it's harder to jump to you're a bad person. And that helps teams then stay focused on what's most important. So it piggybacks off of prioritization and focus, because now we've set a goal. Now, instead of just a few people, there's a bigger group going after that goal.
Yes.
And when we fall short of it, we call it out. We come up with ideas, we iterate, but we can move faster because we have a higher degree of trust.
Two things I heard from that: accountability and communication.
That's
Two things
it.
I believe in much. What I'm really excited about ScaleBound, and I think why people should check it out, is it reminds me, I used to be at On Deck, and I was an investor there. We had a scale program, which we shut down 2 years ago, but it was phenomenal and all the network effects. And I feel like you're taking it and going to run with it. So
Love it.
Godspeed to you both. Check
you.
out, is it scalebound.com?
That's it.
All right. Thank you both for your time. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right.